Good evening and welcome to This Is The Day. My name is Sarah Otieno. It is a lovely Monday and we are live on Family TV, also live on Family Radio, where the music does the talking. Thank you so much for making time, and we get to know what is making headline in our country and across the globe. Let us start with the COVID-19 update that was given today. CF for Health said Mombasa and Nairobi's Ruaka Estate have brought up the number to 281 after 11 more cases were reported from these two areas today. Now, he says the number is up by 281, but out of that, we have 2 patients that have recovered from COVID-19 today, and this is the detail.
With regards to tracing, 11 more persons have tested positive for the disease today, bringing the total to 281 in the country. Of these confirmed cases, 7 are Kenyans from Mombasa. And in that Mombasa area, we have got quite a few. I think 3 are from Bondeni in the old town in Mombasa. We have a few also from other areas, Miritini. I think we have a case from Miritini, and a couple of other areas within Mombasa town itself. The other 4 are from Nairobi, and those ones are from Ruaka. The Ruaka area is where we got those 4. And none of those have a recent travel history as such. And 5 are female, while 6 are male. 7 of those are from our quarantine centers, the ones in Mombasa in our quarantine centers, and 4 were picked by a surveillance team from various parts of the country. They are aged between 11 and 80 years old. We are also happy that 2 patients have recovered and been discharged. And out of those 2 patients, I can also report that one of them is a doctor. We are 2 doctors who had tested positive, and one doctor is still under treatment while the other one has recovered.
Well, up to now, as a country, we have 69 recovered cases, and we also have reported 14 deaths, and the total number is 281. So let us continue praying for our nation. But the CS for Health, Mutahi Kagwe, also pointed out that some cases have been reported in the borders of the metropolitan state and the boundaries that were set by the president. And he says the presidents of these metropolitan counties, including Machakos, Kajiado, Kiambu, and Murang'a, need to be more vigilant to guard the spread and to prevent the spread of COVID-19 from Nairobi County to other counties.
Today, I also want to make a special appeal to people in the counties of Machakos, Kajiado, Kiambu, and Murang'a. As Nairobi metropolitan counties, you have a special responsibility to guard against the spread of coronavirus from Nairobi County. Already, a number of your residents have contacted the virus, and we have isolated them for treatment. In Machakos, for instance, we have 7 cases. 1 from Syokimau, 2 from Syokimau, and there is 1 each in Athi River, Kamulu. We have a case now from Kamulu, Ruby Garden Estate. We have a case from Kithunguni and Viranji. In Kiambu, we have a case each of the following estates. Githurai has a case, Githurai 45, Dongoru, Dedegua, Tinganga, Waithaka, and Wataalam. Kajiado 2, we have cases in Kitengela, in Matasia, and Ongata Rongai. In Muranga, we have 2 cases in Gatanga and Lumumba Drive. All these cases are being treated in our various hospitals, and we hope and pray that they will soon be cured. But the reason for mentioning the specific areas is to establish and to show you that it is not a Nairobi disease, it is not a stranger's disease, it is something in your neighborhood. It is something that is being carried by a brother, a sister. It is something that is within a friend that you have, and therefore it is just to emphasize the need for social distancing and the need to be just careful as we move along.
Well, the CS pointed out that this is not a Nairobi disease and people need to be more careful and more vigilant. And talking of that, the curfew rule has been in place for quite some time now, and those that have flaunted this rule have found themselves in the wrong side of the law, and up to now 455 people have been arrested and put into forceful quarantine after they went against the rule of the curfew hours. Listen in.
As shared in the past briefings, the current phase involves deployment of targeted testing with a focus on frontline healthcare workers, identified hotspots and clusters in Nairobi, Mombasa, enhancing community-based surveillance and screening trunk transit drivers. With regard to isolation and quarantine, we have 33 quarantine centers that are currently active. We have closed down a good number of sites. At the moment, we have 483 individuals in the various centers across the country. We have also quarantined 455 other persons for defying national curfew regulations. And I think this is important to note, because once you are out during curfew hours, it is assumed that you have now been exposed.
Well, once you are out during curfew hours, then it is assumed by the government that you have been exposed, and this only those that are exemptional are those from the essential services. So make sure you observe the rule of the curfew hours. Now, the government has not been joking. It put a restriction and put Nairobi County in a partial lockdown, in a secession. And 4 people were arrested over the weekend as they tried to cross over from Nairobi County in the Rironi roadblock, where police officers are now deciding that they will continue beefing up security and manning up that roadblock after these 4 are arrested, claiming that people have now resolved to using other means of making sure that they move from Nairobi County to other counties.
Hata mimi ukiniangalia niko na matope huku, nimejaribu kupitia huko nikatolewa mbio sana.
Matatu alikuwa anatumikia panya route wakipita.
Lakini
sasa hii imekuwa vigumu cause polisi wametia foleni mahali popote.
We were told once we were in the mortuary that those procedures will have to follow. And one of them was to get in touch with the regional commanding officer in charge of the COVID issue. And when now we were traveling, we wrote a letter to the same effect which we took there.
Sema tuko na barua kutoka mahali niko. Kama ni Nairobi, niko na barua kutoka the regional commander.
Well, everyone should stay where they are supposed to be according to the government, and please let us just observe the rules that have been put by the government. We are live on Family TV, also live on Family Radio, where the music does the talking. Remember the WhatsApp number that you can always use and contact us from is 0786 316 316, SMS line 20316. And thank you so much for tuning in to This Is The Day with me, Sarah Otieno. Now, mental illness Comparing that with what is happening currently in the country, the pandemic COVID-19, it is a challenge, and especially for those that have pre-existing conditions like mental illness. Now, the Mombasa Women Empowerment Network chairperson, Amina Abdi, has come out to say that during this time, those that are suffering mental illness are more exposed and have a high rate of being infected with the COVID-19 pandemic. Listen in.
Hawa ni watu ambao nilichukua barabarani wakiwa hali zao ni mbaya, hawajielewi, wengine walikuwa uchi wa mnyama barabarani, na leo wamepoa. Walikuwa wakitoka hapa waende rehab moja kwa moja, lakini rehab tumefunga kwa muda kwa sababu ya hili janga. Leo hii tunawarudisha katika familia zao rasmi, kuhakikisha kwamba familia na sisi tumeungana kwa huu muda wa haya maradhi, waweze kuwatekea hawa wagonjwa wetu mpaka wakati watakuwa sawa sawa. Kwa hivyo mimi naomba serikali ichukulie na uzito ya kwamba hawa watu wanaugua na si kupenda kwao. Wakati wanaona kansa, wakati wanaona HIV, haya pia ni maradhi. Hiyo ndio kitu ambacho mimi kilio changu leo kiko katika serikali. Mentally ill people ni maradhi, wanaugua hawa watu. Kwa hivyo ni magonjwa kama mengine. Naomba katika bajeti zao, ikiwa wao hawataweza, mimi niko nitaifanya, nitashika watu wote, wanipe mwelekeo na vipi wanaweza saidika wakati kama huu. Nilikuwako wakitoka hapa, waingie rehab. Rehab sasa wafanywe mambo ya counseling na kuendelea na matibabu. Baada ya hapo nilikuwako kila mgonjwa nimemwekea biashara yake ambayo anaweza anza yeye mwenyewe. Kwa hivyo kulikuwa na training ambayo ilikuwa kwa inakuja, wafanyiwe training, wakitoka pale waweze kufanya biashara kama watu wengine.
Well, it is a very sad time for those suffering from mental illness, and we wish them well. Now, Embu County has received personal protective equipment, the PPEs, from the Council of Governors. And according to the CEC for Health in that county, Engineer Josephat Waganagwa, he says that with this equipment, they are now ready and in a position to fight COVID-19 just in case it affects Embu County. Listen in.
They have made it possible for us to receive this great assistance, which we really needed. We are adequately prepared to handle either a quarantine case or an isolation case, because we have no doubt what we have now, if we receive a case, we should be able to handle. If we would receive cases, of course, in a higher scale, then we would need much more support.
Well, we are praying and hoping that this will happen across different counties in our country for the preparedness of dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, let's head over to Eastleigh, and in Nairobi County, the governor, that is Governor Mike Sonko, has unveiled up to 50 sanitation booths, the spray booths. And he said this will help to combat the COVID-19 pandemic, especially in Nairobi County. And apart from that, he also says that these units will help with the curbing of the rising number in Nairobi County. Now, elsewhere also, the majority leader, Aden Duale, was sensitizing residents of Eastleigh about how they can deal with the pandemic.
Actually have 50 number, the booths that have been installed. We are installing them in different populated areas. Already Kibra is done, the CBD is done, many parts in Eastlands have been done. So the focus is to ensure that we cover as much of the city as possible, especially in bus stations and any other populated areas where people gather.
There's a serious fumigation going on in all the malls in preparation for opening once they comply with the health regulation, just like Parliament, just like the judiciary. And two, what we are doing today is we are talking to the people of Eastleigh in our own language, the message, to make sure that they stay at home, they wear masks when they're going to buy things and out, they avoid unnecessary movement.
Well, these are just some of the measures that the government, including the leaders, are trying to put into place to make sure that the residents are sensitized and are taking precaution against the spreading of COVID-19. Now, learning has been online. We are having people doing their classes through online platforms, but some questions have been raised. Is e-learning only for the rich and those that can afford electricity? And also this equipment, and the gadgets to have them access the learning procedures. Now, this has been raised by the Member of Parliament for Kisii, Joyce Ambassa, who said in her area, very few people have connectivity to electricity and can even afford the gadgets for e-learning. So is it a form of learning for only the rich, or it cuts across even for the poor?
Kwa sababu kwetu Kisii County sio places zote ambazo ziko na stima, si watoto ambao wako na hizo gadgets ambazo our president Uhuru tablets. So wakati ule Magoha anasema ati there has to be online learning. Does it mean that the children of the rich will be learning online while the poor man's children are waiting in the house? We are very much westernized, and you forget even what we are as Africans. And I'm not against the covering of the noses and the mouth. Now we've left the eyes. Maybe something is itching and I've come into contact with something and I've touched my eyes. What happens to the eyes? Should we also have the prevention goggles to prevent the eyes? And you're telling us about social distancing. Honestly, like now, when now, for example, when the county has carries, they are crowded, maybe 50 of them in the pickup, running after the mama mboga. Are they keeping the social distancing?
Which involves both the assistant chiefs, the chiefs, and the village elders. These people are doing what we call house-to-house sensitization because we have said we don't want gatherings. So these people are moving house to house, explaining how the coronavirus or the COVID-19 disease comes about.
Donations are coming in. What is the donations for? If at all the donations are being eaten by the few, let them stop eating the donations and they give services. The people in isolation, because when they're brought here and they're put in isolation and they can't afford it to pay, the donation money should pay for them. A whole man, because he has a position in the government, to say that those are just noises in the social media, and we can see our children being beaten there. No, what if at all? I'm not inciting. What if at all now the Kenyans also get mad and they start to flush the Chinese out?
Well, clearly, the Member of Parliament from Kisii County, Joyce Ambassa, has some point there that we need to look into. And talking of learning, it has been a month now since the President declared that all schools will be closed down as we try to curb the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, some parents in Narok are already tired of this, and they're calling upon the government to reopen the schools so that they can allow their children back to school and to continue with their education. Now, this was actually disputed by the CASNET Secretary General James Torome, that is, and he said it is not safe and it's not yet time for our children to be allowed back to schools, considering that some of the schools are used as quarantine centers.
The way the number of the patients are increasing, and we see the capacity of our government to handle this situation, they still don't have the capacity. We are urging the parents to still monitor their children when they are at home and not to mount pressure to the government to reopen this institution. They should remember that some of our institutions have been taken by the Ministry of Health for the isolation cases. Immediately these institutions are going to be open. We are urging the Ministry of Health to disinfect all the institution, and at the same time all the children and the workers and the teachers who are going to be reporting back to this institution must be screened, and whoever is going to be suspected to be isolated. No law in this country which is stating that the exam must be done in third term. The Minister for Education, he have his own prerogative to determine the term dates. The time which have been lost can be recovered any time when the situation will come back to normal and the children can sit the exam in any month of the year.
And the WhatsApp number that you can always use to text us from is 0786 316 316, SMS line 20316. Let's go over to what the CS for Education has to say about the issue of education. And there has been so many rumors of how the national examination, the KCP and the KCAC, might be postponed because of the COVID-19 and the pandemic right now in our country. But the CS has called out on parents to remain calm. And he says that the government is working on the modalities to make sure that this pandemic affects not affects the academic calendar, and if it does, it will be in minimal levels. Listen in.
Up to this moment, nobody has thought of postponing the examinations, the national examinations, both the primary school exams and the secondary school exams. I also want to tell the parents that they should not be encouraged by anybody to congregate their children to learn together. The children must remain in their homes where they are safe, as you have heard from the horse's mouth, that this calamity is now in every estate. So stay home with your children, love them, and also teach them if you can, those who can teach them.
Well, that has been the Education CS, Professor George Magoha, calling on parents and even pupils and candidates this year to be a bit relaxed and let the government do their job when it comes to the national examination. Now, it was a sad weekend for the residents of the trading center by the name Chesegon. Now, this trading center is in the border of Elgeyo Marakwet and West Pokot. A landslide happened following the heavy rains that have been experienced in that area and across the country. Now, a total of 4 people were killed during that landslide, and a couple of others are still missing. And the search process, according to the Rift Valley Regional Coordinator George Natembea, is still ongoing to make sure that these people are found, if not their bodies.
Kuona maji ya Kikunde kafika hapa juu imefurika kabisa, kainuka kama mawimbi, alafu ikachapa hii town, ikaribu hii town yote, hakuna nyumba ilibaki hata moja.
Watu walipebwa kutoka Chesegon Center mpaka kilomita 5 mahali inaitwa Kamindege. Mpaka saa hizi hao watu wako alive, lakini hatujapata kujua kwamba ni wangapi wamekufa mpaka saa hizi, lakini mimi najua watu 5 wangali missing.
Unaona sasa kila mali sasa ni mawe. Kila mali sasa imekuwa mtoni na mawe. Ukiangalia huko juu, ukiangalia huko chini, unaona kwamba sasa haionekani kwamba hata hapa ilikuwa ni trading center yote hapa.
Kuna watu 18 ambao waliumia pande ya West Pokot. Wale wengine walikuwa majeraha mbalimbali. Unajua wakati maji yanakuja, mtu anagongwa na mawe, anagongwa na miti, maana maji ilikuwa imebeba debris nyingi sana. 14 walitibiwa jana katika hii dispensary yetu ya hapa na wakakuwa discharged.
Nimechukuliwa nyumba, nilikuwa nimetumia kama hoteli na nilikuwa nimeweka kila kitu ndani, na pia nilikuwa nimefuka mbuzi na ng'ombe, na hawa wanyama wote walichukuliwa na maji.
Well, heavy rains are being experienced across the country, and this calls for all of us to be vigilant and make sure that you keep safe even as you are staying home because of the COVID-19. Have you heard of KOT? Kenyans on Twitter. Now, there is a report and a survey that was done by the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime. And due to this, whatever has been happening on Twitter and Kenyans, Kenyans were ranked the worst bullies on Twitter. That is not very good news. And according to this survey that actually took place in 171 countries, Kenya came number 1, then followed by South Africa on the 2nd place, and we had Nigeria on the 7th place. And Tanzania came number 2nd last, that is 170. And we had Canada at the last position, that is 171. If you look at it, this is not very good news, considering the fact that Kenyans have been known for bullying even our own people and ganging against those that are against whatever is trending on Twitter. And it's not a funny joke. We have had people, and that is according to the report actually, bullying even our own politicians and anyone that will be against the majority thought on Twitter. That is food for thought, and especially for us as Kenyans, it is not very good information that we can be having out there. Now let's go to international news, and today we'll start with Nigeria, where the IDP camp have been fumigated, because this happens after the Nigerian government decided to fumigate all the IDP camps, including one by the name Maiduguri. And this is a place where very many complaints have come out from the residents of these IDP camps, complaining of neglection from the government. And this is what happened.
We thank the Borno State government for the support given to these IDPs, for the spreading of these chemicals, for prevention of this virus that came. We really thank Borno Bosepa and management of the Borno State Emergency Management Agency.
Well, this is a good move by the Nigerian government. Now let's head over to South Africa. When the first case of COVID-19 was reported in this country, South Africa, that is in early March, the country decided to go on a lockdown. Now, what happens to the homeless, to those who were living in the streets, the street families? Now, the South African government decided that they will put them somewhere in a secluded place. This has been received with mixed reactions, with most of these homeless people complaining that it is torture and they want to go back to the streets. But according to the mayor of Cape Town, Dara Plato, he actually pointed out that it is for the good of the South Africans when it comes to protecting them against the spread of COVID-19. Listen in.
We don't have to be seen like this. I think we all have women in here.
And no one is being held against their will on the site.
They don't even take notice of the sick people inside. They don't even take notice of them.
Not
That's
true.
a lie, sir. You know you talk lies.
Individuals on site are not being held here against their will. They are not being held here against their will.
You must remember and understand these people that were really living on the streets. Some of them use drugs and use alcohol and that sort of thing. The withdrawing symptoms figure is quite high because they want to continue their habits, but here they can't, unfortunately. If you allow these people to walk freely around, what do you think what will happen?
Well, this is one of the countries that is in Africa that have recorded the COVID-19 cases. And according to the government, that position is not supposed to change anytime soon, and the mayor clearly states that it is for the good of the South Africans. We're live on Family TV, also live on Family Radio, and thank you so much for making time for This Is the Day this Monday evening. Now let's head over to Canada, and it has been a very sad weekend and Monday for the Canadians, and especially in a province by the name Nova Scotia. This is after a man shot dead 16 people, that is to the least 16 people, after a 12-hour rampage, and this includes one police officer and another one being injured amongst other civilians in what has been called the deadliest attack for over 30 years in the Canadian history. Listen in.
I hear the shots and I look out and there's a guy running back and forth up beside the what looks to be a police vehicle.
At one point during the course of the evening hours, he appears to have been wearing, if not all, then a portion of a police uniform, and that we believe that he was driving at one point a mock-up or a vehicle that was made to look like an RCMP police cruiser.
It's with tremendous sadness that I share with you that we have lost Constable Heidi Stevenson, a 23-year veteran of the force, who was killed this morning while responding to an active shooter incident. Heidi answered the call of duty and lost her life while protecting those she served.
Well, we pray for peace for the people of Canada and for those who succumbed After this attack, we pray that the Lord will rest their soul in eternal peace. Now let's head over to Israel. Now this country has been experiencing a spiking number of COVID-19 cases, but now they have decided to put Jerusalem on a lockdown. So some of the districts in Jerusalem have been put on a total lockdown, with the police officers being on guard to ensure there is no movement in and out of those districts.
It's absolutely critical that all of the people that are living in the ultra-religious neighborhoods will stay at home. The message to the public and also to the leaders of the communities, the rabbis, is to make sure that people are distancing from one another, not getting close. We're seeing that there are large families with 5, 10, even 15 people living in one apartment, and therefore it's absolutely necessary that people stay at home.
It's good the police are out on patrol, but unfortunately, they often don't follow protocol. They don't send officers to the right targets. They use a lot of force. There are places that they close more, others that they close less. Yet you could say that the police are doing good work. This is the situation and it's what has to be done.
It's intense, but it's definitely necessary. There's a lot of disinformation. A lot of people don't have smartphones, internet in these communities, and they don't understand how serious it is, how serious if we run out of ventilators. So they're definitely doing what they need to do. And it could be that they should be doing even more.
The lockdown is an excellent thing. There's no choice, it saves people, and that's the bottom line. The police are very considerate, but we have to police ourselves. That's how it should be.
It's a little disturbing. Sometimes the police are here, sometimes they are there. It's really frustrating. Everybody is nervous. There's a very tense feeling in the air, but we hope it will pass.
We're making sure that we're at the right place at the right time. And as well as that, our units are also going inside synagogues and making sure there are no public gatherings. We've seen a lot of gatherings that have taken place, people that have come to pray. That is something that we're preventing.
Well, the residents of Israel and especially in Jerusalem have welcomed the move by the government for a lockdown. They're saying it's for their own good. There has been some protests in the United States of America. This is after some complain that this lockdown has taken too long and they want to go back to work. The latest state to have these protests right now is Texas, and most of the residents and the traders in this area are saying they can no longer survive because they are making no profits and their businesses are not keeping afloat.
I haven't even received my stimulus check. So I've gone 30 days with zero income. So, I just want people to think about, how long can you keep your house and a business running off your savings?
We're not at the plateau anymore, but we're still not in a good position. And the worst news is still tragic news, number of deaths, 540. It's not as high as it was. It's still 540 people died yesterday.
Well, clearly from the leaders of the United States, this is not about to change anytime soon because they are still recording high numbers of deaths, up to 500 per day, and that is not very good news. Now, things are going back to normal in Denmark. And if you remember very well, these are some of the countries, and they were the very first one to close down the schools and to lock down the country after the COVID-19 pandemic and viruses were reported in that country. Now, things are back to normal, and it includes schools that have reopened after the pandemic, and the cases have reduced in that area. Now, despite the fact that schools can be opened, the school managers have to maintain the rules and regulations and take precautions of social distancing and ensuring hygiene, even as the pupils start to report back to their classrooms.
I think they handled everything, the government, pretty well, so I feel safe that they know what they do. And my kid has been really looking forward to it, so they really are excited to see their friends again.
She's super happy about it, so we will have some short days and they will take all the effort that is needed to keep them safe. So I feel it's a good thing.
alone in their homes with no socializing. So it is very important for them and their development that they can now come and beginning socializing again. So I think it is the right one, and it is a good time to do it.
The rapidity with which we or our government reacted when the epidemic was starting, when we started to see inland spreading of the epidemic, was the main difference. As far as I know, they were substantially slower in Great Britain in doing anything, and I think that is one of the reasons why it has become worse in Great Britain than here.
And that has been the hope of all across all nations. We just can't wait for things to go back to normal and have our children back to school, businesses back to normal. That is our prayer, and let us keep praying for our nation, because even at the end of this tunnel, there is light.